Hey, so
We're in the dark.
We're getting further. So we just actually passed the Cincinnati Bridge, and I have fond memories of going under that little tunnel bridge. If you actually go ahead and flip the camera around if you can. And over here we've got show them the Reds stadium. Here's a Cincinnati Reds baseball stadium. Pretty cool. Yeah, I've always made this trip from I've always made this trip from Cleveland to Nashville.
Is that Joe? We can't wait to meet you finally.
So yeah, this is super cool. Cincinnati's a cool little city. I don't know if you guys ever been to Cincinnati. If you have not been to Ohio, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, we've got the best weather. So nice.
Really cold.
Yeah, really cold.
Well, thankfully we haven't hit the freezing rain yet.
But you know what? But we got great summers, so we can't complain too much.
And great falls for the most part.
So I think am I in the right lane? I don't know.
You are. Stay here.
Okay.
Even though it's slow, stay here.
Yeah. So that's what's been. So
Chris, I don't want to do a video in traffic.
Right?
It makes me anxious.
But this is right here in Cincinnati. I mean, every time we come through, we're gonna remember this video. So we've been having lots of fun. So I'm gonna tell you, we made some stops along the way. Man, I have to tell you guys about this place that I went into, and
for all the CD collectors, the music collectors.
yeah. So there was this place, and I'm not even gonna mention the place.
Oh, that place.
Yeah, wow. I went in there. I do not know what kind of smoke that I breathed in.
Oh, there's a Ferris wheel.
But
See that, Riley?
look over there. We look like tourists, big time. Look at that.
In our own state.
So I don't know. I walked into this place. It was a real legitimate business, but it was all bootleg. Everything was bootlegged.
What? We have to take the ramp on the left.
Okay.
Wait. No, we're staying on 71.
We're staying on 71.
It must just move to the left.
Yeah, no, I need to be over one more lane. So I went into this place, and I'm not even kidding you. It was all bootlegged. Everything was bootlegged. This place was full of smoke, and I do not know what kind of smoke it was and kind of thing. I think this was like a undercover realm of like selling some stuff. But, you know, that's just my opinion of it. Dude, it was absolutely insane. My lungs hurt when I walked out of this place, and I was only in there for like 30 seconds. And then I realized everything in this place is bootlegged. So I had to get out of there extremely fast. Which is crazy. I mean, it was like somebody who sold their stuff on the street set up a shop.
Pause that thought.
Yeah.
We just had somebody ask where the event was in Dallas. It is in Frisco at the Embassy Suites and Convention Center. So if you just Google Flat Earth International Convention 20 or Conference 2019, you'll be able to find the website, and it's directly in Frisco, the Embassy Suites and Convention Center. Is it completely sold out? I don't think it's sold out yet.
Not.
No, it's not, especially if you live there. The hotel is sold out to stay there, but the tickets are still available. So that's where we're heading on our slow journey to Texas. First stop tonight is Kentucky. So continue, sorry.
No, so that was our most exciting thing on the journey so far, is walking into some really bad places. I did find some really cool stuff at another place, but last time we had such a fun time. I wanted to play some old school music for you guys, so you know, and you know, if you guys have some questions or anything like that, I mean, we're going to be in this car for a little bit. So let's help them build some content for Take on the World TV. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Take on the World TV before we do some fun stuff. We've got a brand new show coming.
This bridge always makes me so nervous.
Oh, flip this around. This is super cool. Yeah. I don't know why.
Who else hates going over bridges?
I mean,
I sure do.
look at how miserable Ohio looks right
It
now.
is. Stop looking at the phone, Chris.
I'm not. If I look at the phone, I'm actually looking at the road. So keep that in mind.
So we are going over, this is right at the point of Cincinnati and Louisville, correct?
Yes.
Once you go over the bridge, you're then in Louisville.
No, Kentucky. This is the.
But that's Louisville, right?
No.
No?
No.
We don't get out much, if you can't tell.
I know where I'm going. This is Kentucky. The minute you cross this border is Kentucky. And that's not Louisville, Liz.
No?
No.
Okay, I thought it was for some
Liz
reason.
doesn't know.
We don't travel much.
No, just because you see Louisville on the sign, that doesn't mean that's where we're headed. But I've always thought this this hotel over here.
This is what I hate, right down there, going over water. Ugh. And this bridge reminds me, if anybody's a For King and Country fan, this bridge totally reminds me of their video.
So look at this cool.
70 miles.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
thank you, Nate. Yes, you drive a lot, especially going back and forth with
So what city
colleges.
is this, Nate? What city are we about to get?
This bus is so close.
So yeah, I've always thought this hotel
this
was
bus is
super
really
cool.
close, make me nervous.
My whole life. This it's a Radisson over here. You can see it, that big hotel that was always on the side of the road over here.
The river to Kentucky. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was partially right.
Yeah, so if you flash up, here's the Kentucky sign. So we are now entering Kentucky.
Woohoo!
Not yet. Hey, Riley. We are entering Kentucky.
Kentucky, we're finally out of Ohio. We were just asked that 20 billion times.
Yeah.
So there's the cool
Not yet.
circular
Not yet. Here
hotel.
we go. We're about to
I
pass.
got a ticket my video.
Oh, you're doing a video too? Look at that. Video on video. Whoop, whoop.
So we are in Kentucky officially.
That is a cool hotel. Has anybody ever stayed there? Oh, 99 miles. Whoops. We're far from Louisville.
I told you, we are nowhere near Louisville.
Wouldn't it be cool
Look,
to have one of those houses over there if you can see that on the cliff? I always thought those were cool.
Remember, Liz, I've driven through this
Yes,
pass.
this is our route to Tennessee, so he's driven this many, many, many times. No, Blake, for sure we are not driving straight through. We are not that crazy.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna make a little road trip of it and just go to Owensboro tonight. That's our stop, because supposedly there's this Arctic blast coming in with freezing rain. So I mean, it's definitely raining a lot, and when this freezes, yeah, that's not going to be fun to drive in. So we're going to stop tonight and then start early tomorrow and get into the Arkansas area.
Not too early. We're gonna go to like a indoor flea market type of thing.
If that's Chad, I totally missed your conversation. I had my selfie stick a little too far. No, I've never been on that Ferris wheel in Cincinnati. That's the first time I've ever seen that, actually.
I've seen it.
You have? That was
Yeah.
the first I've noticed
always
it.
been there.
Ooh, snowing in Indiana big time. Well, we hope to miss a lot of the snow, at least at home. So here, we'll turn around, because nobody likes to see traffic.
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you guys about Take on the World TV.
Let me put my selfie stick out further.
Chad, well, the question for Chad in the chat room, is there a disputed lands tonight?
There is. Chris was in his CD shop on one of his many CD adventures. And yeah, it's a Disputed Lands meets Reality Distortion Effect tonight.
Oh, nice. So Ian Chadwick and
That's gonna be a good one.
is it Ian and Ian, or is it Ian, Chad, and Ian?
I think it's the three of them from what I saw. So that'll be a good show. Get ready to have your minds blown. Oh, well, let me tell ya. So we just had a question from Mark Bowman. I know the last name's not Bowman, but that's what I see on here. Asking if there's going to be an archery range for the new location of Take on the World 2020. There's a potential.
There's a potential.
There's
So
a
the
potential.
Heartland facility that we went to
Yes.
has archery.
It does.
Now,
Riley, please turn it down.
Yeah.
Turn it off for a moment.
I was just getting a call from somebody who's dealing with some drama, so I'll probably have to call that guy back soon with some FEIC drama. So I got to get behind that scene. Hey, Riley, can you turn that down, bud? So I wanted to also tell you, what was I talking about before?
I lost my train
Wow, I just
of thought,
forgot. I
too.
forgot it. Hey, Riley,
Oh, the
can
new
you turn
location. New location.
Yeah. So so here's the cool thing. We got 2 locations that are interested in having us, and Riley's really got to turn that down. Okay, thank you. What was I talking about again?
The new location.
Okay. What was I talking about? I know what I said. Hold on. The new location. We got 2 places that want to have us. So one is a little bit more expensive for everybody to stay there. It is potentially a little bit nicer of a stay for every guest. Still, it's going to be camp style. So, sort of like the rooms at the Lakeshore Lodge, but it's not really near
But
hotels.
less of them.
Well, no, let me explain. So, the first place, it's a little nicer of a stay, but they don't have, they have more beds, they have all the options, but people can't,
It's a communal stay.
yes, it's more of a
It's not
communal stay.
private rooms. I mean, they're just larger rooms.
So people,
of communal stay.
So we all have to give up a little bit because we can't have exactly what Beulah Beach has, and get everything we want. So they're a little further more into the country, so there's not lots of lodging. I think the closest lodging is about 15 to 20 minutes away, hotel-wise, which isn't bad. So that's one option. The other option is a lot less expensive of an option, but the amenities are just as good, and if not better.
The lodging is the same though.
Lodging is the same, probably a little bit more downgraded, but it's cheaper. So I need to know from you guys, what do you want? Do you want
What's most important
do you want
to you?
more of a comfortable stay, or do you want, there we go.
Oh, that's better.
Or do you guys want,
Both places are going to be a comfortable stay.
yeah, it's not going to be uncomfortable.
Because they're both nice. It's just you don't have the individual private rooms. So you can have a room that has about 6 bunk beds in it, so 12 beds. If you think about it, you could stay with 2 large families and stay in a room together.
And get the price down lower. So here's the thing. If we do the conference at one of these 2 locations, it's mandatory to have people stay on site as the majority, because that's part of the contract to get these facilities, is they want people to eat there and stay there. So, we all have to sort of give a little to get what we want, which is the conference and the fellowship and
That's where it's
the
at.
lessons.
Truly, I mean, you're sleeping for a very short time,
Yep.
and especially at Take on the World, it's even shorter.
Yeah. So, go ahead. Give me some of your thoughts, some of your ideas, because that's, those are the 2 places we're looking at right now.
That's the struggle for us in trying to find a location that is of the same caliber of Beulah Beach, but also allows for more. Because even at Beulah, we were limited to how many we could have in the conference center and whatnot. These other locations actually have the ability to hold more in the conference center for presentations.
Yeah, some
and
of
of
them-
course, that's our goal. We would
The one
love
we're
to
checking
have
it out.
more people come.
The one we're checking out is up to what, 1,000, right?
Yes, 800 to 1,000
Yeah,
potentially.
800 to 1,000. So I mean, we're getting so much bigger of a space, but the amenities and where it is more centrally. So you'll want to either eat there, pack your own food. You're not going to have the ability just to go out places, which is not something that we probably would recommend anyways.
Most likely, it will be potentially an all-inclusive price. Food, lodging, all of that, because they, of course, want you to eat there. So,
And that's how they make up for not having a huge rental fee, is that they're going to base it upon everybody being there. So, which then allows us, if we go with one of the two, if we go with the first option, we probably don't have much of a pool or to lower ticket cost. But if we go with the second place, and we hope to show you guys that, we will be able to reduce that cost, which will be great. So we can reduce ticket price, we can reduce food price, and we could reduce potentially even the lodging cost. So, if those things are important to you, let us know what you think. Is it, having it at more of a, we're going to the FEIC, which is held at one of the most prestigious, places.
there's really no comparison.
There's going to be no comparison. So
Robbie goes all out.
yeah, this is going to be crazy. And you know what? What's crazy? My sweatshirt smells like a skunk still from that place that I was in. So if you know exactly what I'm talking about, that is not me. That if you smell the sweatshirt, that was that cheap bootlegged place that I was in for 30 seconds.
Bobby's CD shop.
Yeah, Bobby's CD shop.
Where he'll make you a sandwich and sell you a CD.
Oh,
and maybe some illegal things at the same time.
I'm sure. There was some girl activity in there. Some weird stuff was going on. I had to get out.
Not join them.
I had to get out of that place so fast. So
we've had a few people mention that they can totally rough it. Awesome. You don't have to. The place is definitely not a roughing it type facility. And I'll tell you, even for those individuals who have an RV or a tent, the location Heartland Retreat Center has, I think, like 150 RV spots. So I tell you what, if you have an RV or you want to have your own separate space, rent an RV and drive to Ohio, and it will be amazing for you. All the hookups. I know for a lot of RVers that came to Beulah Beach, we had to contend with the trees hanging low and some spots on a slope and all sorts of stuff. This is like wide open flatland, and all the spaces have hookups. They have picnic tables right outside of them.
It's so large of an area. There's a curve.
It's a beautiful space for RVers and tenters alike. So Heartland Retreat Center really just has it all.
Yeah. So if we don't. So
that's definitely high on our list.
Yeah.
We're looking at a secondary place just to compare, and we found all of these locations through the Christian Conference Association of Ohio. So
and that was important to us, to find a place that, at least from the biblical standpoint, we could reason together, even though we're not going to agree on everything, as you guys know. And we've shared that. We shared the website, and they still are interested in having us come. So they've seen
Chris
us.
shared it all. He shared it all.
Yeah.
He didn't hold back.
So
and the person who was giving us the tour was like, "That's great."
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
because you try to bring it right back to everything biblically, and it was. But unfortunately, we think this is a better option for families, for everybody,
and it's
to create that really tight niche option of having lodging, camping, outdoor fellowship. The cool part about the place we're visiting next is on a lake, so it gives us more of a feature like Beulah Beach, which is really cool. Compared to
not Lake Erie, a different smaller lake, but it has a similar feel.
Yeah, but it's not a small lake; it's a big lake.
Yeah, it's a bigger lake.
Yeah.
But it has a very similar feel. When I saw the layout of it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like a secondary Beulah Beach, because it has a giant swing right on the lake. It has jet skis and a swimming pool, and all the cool stuff that Beulah has. The zip lining. It also has ropes courses, paintball, just super cool stuff, so that we can run all the programs like just looks super cool. So we're excited to check that out on the ride home. It's a little further from us. It is, what did I say it was?
It's about 4.5 hours.
I don't think it was that long. I think it was more like 4 or just a hair under 4 from the Cleveland, Ohio area. So it's closer to
With bathroom breaks, it's
Cincinnati,
about
where
4.5
we're
hours.
driving with the old man here. He did just have a birthday, so I'm allowed to say that.
Hey. So we definitely would need your guys' input and opinion. What you guys would rather have. Would you rather have, better amenities, super nice, or, communal rooms? So that's something you got to think about. Because I know you guys are particular. You guys have all been particular. Now, some of you have not. Some of you guys have slept in, like, really bad places at Take on the World before. And you guys are the troopers. And you're like,
They're the diehards.
Yeah, I don't really care, that is definitely the case. But not the case for everybody. Because some people won't even stay remotely close to Beulah Beach because they are afraid of bugs, and rightfully so. If you're afraid of bugs and you don't want to sleep with bugs,
I tell you what, Heartland,
Heartland was super clean.
It's super because you're in like the forest, in the country fields. So there's really no water around. They do have a swimming pool, but you don't have.
I'm getting lots of phone calls. So sorry about those interruptions. So think about that, pray about that, and definitely plan on coming if
We've got some really cool ideas. Super cool ideas to take on the world to a whole nother level.
Yeah, our focus will definitely be more on the equipping side. Still definitely seminars to teach and to learn. But you know what? How much, we've all...
That's Gina. Gina, I get you confused. No, that's Mark. Goodness, there's so many people with a similar last name that I get everybody confused now.
Yeah, Bowman is Mark.
Yeah, don't mind me.
Bowman is Mark.
Yes.
Your YouTube handles and your real names, if they don't go together, Liz doesn't get you.
I'm sorry. I can't keep it all together.
So, what was I saying? Yeah.
I don't know, because when I saw that come up, I'm thinking, wait a second, that's Gina now. No, it's not.
So whatever I was saying, I don't know. Trying to focus on the road, and then when Liz interrupts, hey, I don't know. So, what I did want to do for you guys is, I want to play some.
Yes. Gotcha, Mark.
Maybe we'll hold that for a better day when it's actually sunny and we're feeling good. We're driving
We'll
better.
do that tomorrow.
Yeah. So.
Because these videos really help us pass the time. Sorry if we're just like rambling on and on and on. Chris just always
This
feels.
is like flat out insights for me.
Chris feels the need to go live like continuously.
Continuously, we went live for a little bit with Tom.
That's true.
All right. So, we have a couple things we needed to talk about.
What were the other things?
I was trying to tell everybody about Take on the World TV, and then I didn't get very far.
Oh, that was our interruption.
Yeah. So.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so here's the deal. We got a whole brand new show coming. It's going to center around prophecy. I'm not going to leak it just yet, but there's a show coming that's going to be centered around prophecy. We got a brand new host who's new to Take on the World TV. He's been behind the scenes for a long time, and he's been part of Take on the World Conference. And he's going to be doing a show on prophecy and the book of Revelation. And we got the brand new second season of the Reality Distortion Effect kicking off. So what's just crazy? I really got a problem right now with Ian, because Ian's doing a show with Chad when I've been trying to get a show with Ian for forever, and he just keeps blowing me off. Then he jumps on Disputed Lands because you get more views on Disputed Lands than you do just shooting the breeze with me.
Let me have Ian's back here for a moment.
Hold on. I'm going to forget telling everybody about Take on the World.
Okay.
And you can come back to defending Ian, because I'm not going to let you just defend Ian. Come on. Dude, he's just He's just like every
You
time.
probably have to schedule something and not give him like 10-minute heads up. Like,
Okay.
hey dude, you free?
If you've ever talked to Ian on the phone, he just calls out of the blue, and then he's got like some amazing content that he's got to talk to you about for like 2 hours. And then when you try to do the same thing, you're like, no, that doesn't work. No. And then when I'm like, dude, I gotta go, he's like, no, you don't. You gotta finish listening to what I have to say. So I don't feel that reciprocal love right back. So I'm excited to see you on Undisputed Lance tonight. But I kid, because Ian definitely will be back at Take on the World. And he is a dear friend, so I can't keep throwing him under the bus too much. But
We said hi to him as we were passing by.
Yeah, I'm like, I texted him. I did text him, and I said, "Hey, do you know where the city's at?" And he said, "No, I never heard of it." And I said, "Well, we're in Cincy now," and he hasn't even texted me back. So, he's probably watching in the chat room and then just doing his own thing.
He's probably working.
No, he's not. He's not working. It's 5:40.
Oh, that's true.
It's 5:40. I mean, he's got 42 kids, so he's probably doing the dad thing right now. So I kid. So tonight, you guys better check out Disputed Lands, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't know who's going to be on. It could be Ian and Chad, or it could be Chad.
I think it's all three from what I saw.
All three? Okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, Chad, Ian now, so you could pawn off certain shows, to Ian when Chad doesn't want to do a show. That is a really good idea. I wish I could pawn off some shows on Liz.
You are a way better host than I am.
Whatever.
Your knowledge.
Wait a minute, hold on. Go watch the show with Dr. Munzo and Emily Pittsford and tell me which ones are the best secret shows ever. They happen to be yours. They have the best ratings and they have the best comments. And
well, people
so
tend to be very nice and gracious. Thank you. You are a better host. I will say that with Dr. Munzo, I'm more equipped to interview him, and you're more interview other people. I don't know Dirt's music as well as you do. I don't know the music industry at all, truly, and people think that Chris is in the music industry with all of his knowledge.
I do want you guys to go watch the show that I just did with Doug Kirshner. He was a speaker at Take on the World 19. If you guys haven't seen that, he shares his story, and I want you to go back and watch his presentation at Take on the World. It's coupled with some music from Rob Blackwell, but that story is so important for everybody to see, and it deals with the loss of his daughter and how he left the faith to ultimately come back to faith, and that was the thing keeping him basically alive throughout this whole process of losing his 12-year-old daughter. And so I encourage you guys to go watch that. It was absolutely just a blast to do, and he's a dear friend. So we'll be doing lots of secret shows coming up this year. I got a lot of guests. I'm working on doing a show. I want to. I haven't reached out to this guy. He is like one of the world's leading experts in pterodactyl, and I did just say pterodactyl or rope-ins.
Who is this?
This is the guy that I actually reached out to. So here's the thing. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, I've seen one of these things. Everybody thinks I'm absolutely nuts and crazy.
I can attest.
And so,
I have seen it as well.
She has seen it too.
And we do not buy anything from Bobby's CD shop.
We don't buy it. Yeah.
We are not on anything.
We've never been on anything. We're actually, yeah. So, this is all about rope-ins, pterodactyls, all this kind of stuff. And he's got a really cool website. And I had seen one of these things probably like 4 or 5 years ago. And then ever since, every time we see something similar, we think that it's it, but it ends up being a blue heron, something that's remotely distinctively different. There was one time in my driveway, I was picking weeds in the driveway because I have like a really bad driveway, so it has a rock end, so it's got a bunch of weeds. And I was picking weeds, I remember very intently, and this thing flew over me with easily a wingspan. Liz was there. This wingspan was like 10 to 15 feet long. It was bigger than my driveway. And it was gone so fast. It was crazy. And it was only like 25 to feet, maybe 30 feet above me. And I'm losing all my credibility right telling this story. And so I remember intently seeing this thing. And I jumped online and I'm like what kind of bird has this kind of big of a wingspan? And everything kept coming back to these ropens. And I'm like, what in the world is a ropen? And it's spelled R-O-P-E-N. Which led me down this path to discovering this guy who's like, devoted his life, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he has a normal job and he's a normal guy. He's not some wacko.
Devoted his free time.
Yeah. So he's devoted all of his free time, to this research. And he always sends me his, I told him what I saw. And, there's no way to tell anybody.
We did get a picture once.
We didn't get a picture, no.
I thought we were able to get one picture. We sent it to him.
No, we didn't send
No?
a picture. No.
Okay.
If I would have sent a picture, I would have blasted that thing all over the internet.
I thought we tried.
No, I tried. I mean, you take your phone out and the whole thing is gone. That's exactly what I did. When it flew over me, I was so intently ready to grab my phone. By the time that I looked back up, the thing was already over the trees and gone. So
this thing's crazy. It's just crazy. The way that the light hits it and you can see the skin of it. I mean, there's no feathers. It's creepy.
Yeah,
It's
it was
creepy,
weird. It was super
prehistoric looking.
Yeah, it was super weird. So then everybody's like, no, you're just seeing a blue heron.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, blue herons have those, they fly with their feet up like in a tail. But this was different. This was totally different. So and ever since then I've been super in tune to seeing, blue herons all the time now. I see them all the time. And you're like, yeah, that's still not the same thing.
The crazy and most distinct thing about this, though, that makes you think like this is not normal. The head and the neck for sure, but you could see the feet, the feet of it, but then you saw a long tail with like a ball thing on the end of
And
it.
that was the weirdest thing. See, I don't have a vivid image of the feet so much.
I mean, you could see the claws. You could see the claws
You
of
could
it.
see. I saw the claws very.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know them.
Okay.
I could see the claws, but it wasn't super distinct because my eyes fixated right on this ball-like tail. And when you research all this stuff, I mean, there are so many stories of this all over the United States of people seeing these exact type of things. And you notice most of them happen at nighttime, where mine I saw during the day. So that threw up a couple red flags to the guy that I was talking to. And then when I explained it, he goes, well, that's exactly what everybody else says, exactly what you're saying, but most people don't see it in the daytime because they're nocturnal. And so I'd never seen it again.
I think we need to do one of these lights. Is that a little better for you to see?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
So
We are hitting this icky, snowy rain.
yeah, so it's getting down there. So that's what I saw. So I'm going to reach out to this guy to do just a historical look of all these sightings all over the world.
Well, you didn't really finish the story.
Oh, our story? Yeah.
So our story was, he said, oh, well, that's probably not a rope-in because you're seeing it during the daytime. It doesn't really fit exactly. The description maybe, but it doesn't really fit. So he's like, thanks so much. We'll be in touch if, anything changes. So how long was it? Months or was it a year? Or it was a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And he just emailed out of the blue and said, so what you have described has been seen in the Columbus area and by multiple people, so I'm reconsidering your story and what you have said because it just may be what we think it is. So we're like, wow, that's crazy. And come to think of it, we haven't seen it since.
We haven't seen it since. I mean, every time we see something that we think it is, it always is a blue heron. So then everybody's like, you just saw a blue heron to begin with. And when you seen it fly over our heads at that, standing in our driveway, and that was the cool part, is I first saw this thing and nobody believed me that I saw it. Then the minute that Liz saw it too, and it was right over our heads.
Chris has been known to joke a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So, look, I know what we saw. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know I don't know what we saw. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I really don't know. But I will say, what we saw was not a blue heron.
Was not normal.
It was not. It wasn't something that you just would commonly see. It wasn't like a crane. It wasn't any of those things. The head was so different, and definitely the lack of feathers. And it was so fast too. That's the thing that I remember. It was just fast. It was over us in literally, what was it? It felt like maybe 2 seconds and it was already over the trees.
Yeah.
Didn't it feel like that?
Yeah.
I mean, the other birds, they they flap their wings a little fast, slower, and they don't move at this rapid pace. This thing was like gliding through the air like super fast. And that's all that I remember. And then it just went right into the wooded area and was gone. And it was probably somewhere around, what time in the day was that? Like 6 or 7 at night?
I thought it was earlier.
You thought it was earlier? It was in the summer. That's all I remember, is that it was 6 or 7 in the evening in the summertime. It's already, it's still light out, so, and it's fully light. Not like 5:51 right now, and it's pitch black.
Oh my goodness, it feels like it's midnight right now.
So, I think, let me know what you guys think. If you think that would be a really cool show to go through the history of these things, of the sightings, and all the historical accounts of seeing these flying, creatures, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know anything about this guy except for what he does. So, if anybody's watching, chime in, let me know. I mean, I think we got was that one person watching? I can't really see. What's that say?
Talking about Riley's car seat. Yes, I put him back into his huge booster seat. This thing is massive.
For safety.
But, you're driving days on end.
Look at this, Liz. We caught up to the same van.
That's from Texas.
From Texas that we've been seeing, and we made 2 stops. How did we do that?
Well, no. That was a different van. It was a Pacifica. That was from Texas.
Okay.
That is a Dodge.
Okay, the same color.
Same color, yes.
Same van. They're all heading to Texas. All these flat earthers. What are you going to do?
Well, they're from Texas, so.
I mean, if look, all us flat earthers, if we keep driving, we're just going to fall off the edge of this thing.
That's right.
That was a joke. So,
I hate nighttime drive.
I mean, no comments. I thought that was a really cool story, but I think that would be absolutely a fun show to do, and just kind of bring this guy in and talk about these things. because that's a really cool element to debunk, evolution, all these things. Because he's got some, if you've not studied that, I know there's all these myths going around that dinosaurs or these large dragon-like things never existed, or, and probably granted to our science museums, there's probably a lot of lying going on, which we already know there is. But places like the Congo, places like South America, where a lot of these sightings happen on a more regular basis in more rural areas, places that don't talk to each other, that don't have internet, that aren't perusing and they're talking about these same great creatures, who cause havoc, when they show up in their city, or in their little rural towns, from taking their animals, all their livestock, that kind of stuff. And they're talking about these things and describing the same things. If you guys don't know, these rope and pterodactyl-like creatures who are nocturnal actually glow. They glow at nighttime, so that's like a distinctive mark. So when you see them at night. Okay, guys, we're back.
We are back.
Yeah, we are back. Absolutely.
Oh.
Okay. Hey, thanks for staying with us. Those few people who stuck with us during that really rough moment. We actually just flew off the road.
Thankfully, no.
The camera. No, that didn't happen.
Thankfully,
Liz
no.
thought that it happened. She was actually afraid that it was going to happen.
No,
She thought I went over my line.
I hate semis. Semis get super close. We're in a ton of rain and snowing starting.
So you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I want to introduce you guys to a band that you may not be familiar with. A band that we thought was so cool. We fell in love with the name of this band, and it wasn't even because of the band, but we really liked this name. And this band was so awesome live and had such an awesome spirit about them, these guys. They are awesome. They are a 5-piece band. They have 2 violinists.
Used to be.
So they're not. I'm thinking.
They're no longer fully together. I wish they were.
Yeah. So I want
We
to
would
introduce
totally
you.
have them to take on the world.
Oh, totally. I mean, this would be the band that we would have if we could have a band. We brought them in for a concert before, and we've seen them multiple times. I mean, probably 5 or 6 times we've gotten to see these guys. And we brought them in personally and did a personal show with them. Awesome people. One of the guys, so needless to say, I'm going to introduce you to him. A cool backstory with these guys. They're called Riley. And so if you can look in the back, I don't know if you can see because it's too dark.
I'll do it.
There it is. Our son Riley, spelled the same way, Reilly, is the band Riley, and they were so awesome, and just an awesome spirit about these guys. So the cool backstory to these guys is, if you guys know the hip hop artist Flame. Flame came out with, he's a hip hop artist, Christian hip hop artist, and he came out with a song. It's called Joyful Noise. And Joyful Noise is the song that's got all the publicity in the news today. Not today, but in the past few months. It's a song with Lecrae and John Riley of the band Riley. And it's a pretty awesome song. But that's the song that Katy Perry stole the beat from, and he won a major lawsuit in the court. The court ruled in his favor, and he won. Flame won a few $1 million or something like that because they jacked the song. And it's the highly occultic. So this is how Satan operates, right? He takes a song called Joyful Noise, and they steal the beat, and they've been convicted of it, so they can say whatever they want. But they were convicted in a court case that the beat makers that made the song for Katy Perry's song Dark Horse, one of her most occultic songs that she's ever created. And then obviously you can see how Satan operates. He takes joyful noise and turns it into Dark Horse. And the beat to that song, is probably the catchiest beat to her, to that song. And it comes directly from Joyful Noise. I don't know if John Riley made any money from it, but that's a really cool backstory. But this band is so awesome. I wanted to play some of this stuff for you. Liz is freaking out. I have my brakes on. Can you please calm down? I have the brakes on. I have the brakes on still.
Oh, not fast enough.
I'm literally
I worry about the people behind.
20 feet from anybody.
I worry about the people behind.
Worry from the people behind. They're like 20 feet.
Because everybody's on their phone.
Yeah.
I've been watching people
What do you
driving.
think I'm doing, an online video or something? Like,
I've been watching people driving, and everybody's weaving to death because they're all on their phones driving. Like,
yeah. So I want to introduce you to this band, Riley, and if you guys like this band, I want you to go out and
it's the semi that's going way too slow.
I'm gonna get around. Okay. I want to introduce you to them, and
All these other semis.
we're not
going
gonna talk and argue. Right? So I want to introduce you to these guys. If you like them, he's getting them.
No, he's not. He just has
trying
all
to.
of his blinkers on because he's going super slow.
Okay. I'm already gonna get past him. So.
But then you gotta go on a curve.
Wow.
This.
Wow, Liz is.
So I have a little PTSD. I was driven off the road by a semi in the past. So semis.
Okay. He did try to just cut me off. Okay. Liz has a little bit of merit. This guy is absolutely crazy.
Horrible driver.
right.
Horrible.
Yeah. Okay, now we're good. Now we're good. Take a deep breath.
I need
You're
to take
okay.
my homeopathic.
Yeah.
Help me with stress.
So
Stressful driving.
I'm going to introduce you to this band, Riley. We're going to calm down, turn the lights off. I'm going to let you listen to this stuff. And if you guys like this, go download this, iTunes, whatever. Go shout out and tell this band how awesome they were. The mainstream never picked these guys up, even though they played huge shows. They did all these things. They have some of the best
so
artists.
Sweet
Yeah.
about their band, they had a husband and wife duo that were violinists, and they are phenomenal. They have actually since spawned their own band called Natives and Nomads, or Nomads and Natives.
But you know what? They're not as powerful as the full band together.
Yeah, they just have a little different vibe than how they were in the band Riley.
I mean, super talented. They're all super talented.
Go find some of their YouTube videos that were done live,
Yeah,
because Dan and Noel, the husband and wife violinists, they would do like battles between each other, and it just blows you away with their talent. Amazing, absolutely
Well,
amazing.
we're gonna shut up. We're
Okay.
gonna
Turn off the
introduce you
lights.
to
Yeah.
these guys, and you can keep that one.
Nope, I like it off.
Okay. So, if you
It
guys
helps to calm me.
We proved we know not what we do. We're spinning round and round, wondering what is up and what is down. Ashamed, confused by twisted things we do. You came to change the ways, clean the stains of the crooked man. It's time we listen to what you're asking for. Time will shine. You're in my heart now. You're in my soul now. You're in my mind now. Gonna share you with the world now. We're running on empty time, sleepwalking half the life. We got your truth inside. Gonna share you with the world and shine. treasure that I am after. Some look for riches, some look for power. Just give me eyes to behold your beauty, to keep me lost in wonder after wonder. Every prodigal running into the arms of sick and soiled souls. You make me whiter than the winter snow. Oh, you cover over the ashes on the inside. Sunlight, daybreak, you're chasing all my shadows away. Sunlight, daybreak, you're chasing all my shadows away. You're in the whisper between two lovers, igniting passion long after the altar.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, so but that's just a little taste. So that was one of their albums. They got some amazing songs. One of our favorite songs is Yahweh, which is on their album All Around the World.
Yep, where this song
On the
is.
Flat World. That's what it's called, All Around the Flat World now. It's awesome. And, you know, so we were huge fans of the band Riley. And it was crazy. You want to hear the story? So when we got to see these guys in concert, after we brought them in for a show, so we kind of like knew them and all that kind of stuff. And when we had told them we had a baby, and we named them Riley, and so
With the same spelling.
the same spelling, they went and gave Liz a shirt. They just went over to the booth and just pulled the shirt off of there.
No, this was prior to him being born.
Yeah, prior, yeah.
Yeah.
But we were gonna name him Riley.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they went over to their booth. This was at the Alive Music. This was it was a big deal, and they were like, ready to give Liz that shirt, which we still have.
Still do.
So, which was
Still
pretty
fits.
awesome. And so that was an amazing time in our past. But you know what? If I could ever resurrect and bring that band to you guys, you'd be so blessed. I mean, they just, all their albums are just, they drop a lot of Yahwehs too. So for all the people that want to hear Yahweh, I mean,
Are you gonna get her?
they got something. Yes, I will. Have Liz, she's not the backseat driver. She's the person who sits
This
next
is
to
the
you.
part that I hate. I hate nighttime, long distance driving, chasing playing cat and mouse with the semis. I hate it.
Yeah, so Liz is.
I want semis just to have their own highways. Who else agrees with me that they think semis should have their own highways?
So I'm gonna play I want to play something for you guys. See, this is one that I didn't get to play in my '80s throwback video.
There's something here.
Liz, I can see the link too.
Just everybody slowing down.
So I want to like. This is pretty cool. Hey, if anybody can guess this artist, I don't think you will. I'm gonna give you a little history. Give you a year. This is 1987. This band is still in existence to this day. And this and they were talking about Christ coming back, 1987. And they were teaching. Okay, I'm gonna give you a hint. I mean, Liz, read the comments. Don't be
There's
a
nobody
drive.
commenting.
Yes, there are people commenting. You're just watching the road. Yeah, this is to help Liz.
No, this doesn't help me. This doesn't help
so
me at all.
Here, look. So this.
It's just people laughing. Can you put your blinkers, your fucking wipers on more?
So this band is still prominent today, 1987. I don't know if you guys know who this is or not, but I'm going to give you a couple seconds for it.
This is not fun weather to be driving in.
Calm down. See, Liz
me
needs to
going
be calm.
live just makes it worse for me right now, Chris.
So, okay. So
Please.
Calm down. So I'm going like 55
No, you're
miles
not.
per hour.
No, you're not.
60 miles per hour. Calm down. It's okay. Everything's good. There's like nobody in front of us,
Okay.
and there's nobody behind us. We're all right. Everybody, you should be laughing at that. So that was okay. So here's the thing.
Nobody guessed. Nobody knows.
Calm down, Liz. Calm down. Go take your nerve tonic. You need to take that.
I'm holding a selfie stick.
Relax, Liz. Relax. That was Newsboys, 1987. It's called He's Coming Back. You know what? You can't find it on CD. That's like ripped from a cassette. And I've got stuff like that in my weird collection. And see, I'm going so slow that somebody's flashing the brights on me like crazy to make Liz feel comfortable. But yet, because I'm driving so slow, nobody likes that. So then she gets frustrated because people are riding up on our tail. So it's like, you can't win.
Blake, stop it. I'm glad Chris can't see your comment.
Yeah, right? She thinks I'm like the worst driver in the world.
I'm not saying that at all.
55 miles per hour on
I
the highway
never said you
at
were a
6
bad
o'clock.
driver. I'm a nervous driver,
Yeah.
and I'm
She can't-
nervous.
Yeah, and Liz can't. You can see she needs to give some things over to the Lord.
I wanted to fly,
Yeah.
but Chris won't fly. So then that means I have to suck it up,
You ever see a bathroom on one of those flights?
deal with a long distance drive that makes me anxious and nervous.
And we've been driving together for like 2 decades now. Yet somehow
And I hate it.
she's been praying about this, and yet she's
I
not.
have, but I purposefully wanted to leave at a certain time so that we would
It gets dark. It doesn't matter.
No, I wanted to get to our destination prior to this bad weather coming, but we had to stop at like 5 different CD places for Chris to pick because that's what he loves to do. So then that meant we hit all the traffic.
And it was only 3.
And
It wasn't
we
5.
Well, you went into Bobby's shop, so I count that one.
Dude, I am riding so
So now,
comfortably calm.
now we're
It
into
must have
this.
been from being in his shop.
Now we're into this weather where the wind is whipping us around and
It's not that
rain
bad.
and
It's
snow,
really not that bad.
and I hate it.
And you know what? Go ahead, flip the camera around. I want you to flip the camera around. Flip the camera around, please. Flip the camera
No.
around. Oh, you're not driving. You got a free hand. This is like, I don't even have a free hand because somehow she thinks that her free hand is somehow going to magically come over to this. So look, okay.
This
All right.
is what we have.
Okay.
Ah!
Okay, so take a look at this. There is like nobody around us. Like
Well,
there's a
at
car
this
off.
moment.
There's a semi off the road.
Only at this moment.
Okay. So are you comfortable right now?
At this very moment,
Everybody
yes.
is like passing us by. It
I'm comfortable right
doesn't matter
now.
what lane we're in. The left
I'm
or the
not
right lane.
comfortable when you have a semi behind and a semi on the side
So
and a
you know how
semi in front.
So here's the thing. Maybe you guys can comment out there. So if you want to be around, if you
And-
don't want cars to be around you, drive faster than them, which is like the speed limit, and then get around them, and then you'll be a little bit safer. She wants me to go slow, and then it gets really congested. See, I don't like that. To me, that like causes the stress. But she wants to somehow be in the stress because going fast causes stress.
It's stress all around. It just doesn't get better for me right now.
Right. There we go. You guys are now seeing the
I
true
have
Liz.
learned I cannot rush Chris. I have tried, David. I can't rush him.
David who? Who is that?
David Arthur's in the chat.
David Arthur showed up in the chat. Hey, we were talking, okay, so David, if you missed the first chat, man, we were talking to Tom and we were like, you know what? Your documentaries have been so amazing, but you know, the one that we loved the most, and not even just because of the, you know, the film itself, was
That's
just the
going
fact.
too fast, and now I'm really getting nervous.
Okay, calm down. David's driven with us. Like, David was totally comfortable driving in our car.
Perhaps.
But I told Tom, I said, you know, we are so glad you made that documentary, which was a little out of your comfort zone in the beginning. And he admitted that. And I said, it was only because now we had the chance and opportunity to get to know David. And so we're super pumped for David to come back to Ohio. And I'll drive you around in these crazy places and see how comfortable it is, you know, driving at nighttime. You know,
Oh boy, Chris is driving all over the place. So one,
I'm
we're
still in my lane. I have never left
we're
my
not
lane.
in our own car, so that adds another level of anxiety because it's not our car. We had to borrow a larger van so that we could carry everybody's stuff with us, along with our own stuff. And the only thing about this van, it's wonderful. But it's like herky jerky, you know. You turn the wheel the slightest way, and you're like in the other lane. And you take your hands off the wheel because it definitely needs an alignment. You take the hands off the wheel, and you're in the medium. So that just makes it worse with the wind. So it's just me complaining. I'm very grateful to be driving in a nice van. Very light process.
Yeah, I
I
still
don't know if I'll be
understand.
able to handle 2 more hours.
Okay. See, I don't get it. I don't get this. I really don't get this. But, man, you guys are like, you must really like us, or like think that we are such a like
You love to
terrible
hear
show, like
hear our
like
ramblings.
that we're interesting. But you guys are on for this journey, and so we've just been listening to like all sorts of crazy fun music, playing I Spy in the back with Riley. We did some Simon Says. We stopped at like 2 CD shops.
No.
Liz somehow said 5.
Well, it was
We stopped off at a really bad thrift store.
3 totally, but then Chris saw a thrift store and he can't pass up a good thrift store.
We are gonna get to the hotel at 11.
No, Riley, no chance. We're slated to get in at 8 o'clock. Yeah, 8 o'clock. Which is like 2 hours. We got 2 more hours of this horrendous
Whoa.
driving.
Like the semi.
Now, it would be much nicer if it wasn't raining, like sleeting
Rainy and
ice.
sleeting.
Yeah, it's sleeting.
Yeah, I would feel much better if it wasn't sleeting right now. And then Chris has to change every single song.
I'm not changing every song.
Yes, you are.
Just a couple.
I'm way too tired.
Okay, you can take it now. Oh, the people that drive for a living. God bless you. I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Chris's dad drives
Angel-
every single night to Pittsburgh.
Angel's a truck driver.
Yeah, and Dustin Wells too. I don't know how you guys do it.
Okay, so when you're driving, here, let me ask you guys this: what is speeding? Is speeding like anything over the speed limit? Like, so if it's 70 and you're going 71, is that speeding? Is it 5 over? Is it 10 over? You know, what is true speeding? Or can we do that? What do you guys think? Because that is always a debate with me and Liz. You know, because I've always been like the 5 over guy, is like within the safe zone. Like, you could be sort of bad, but not really bad. You know, but is that like teaching you to, like, you know, break laws in your own life just a little? Like, you could do this, but not do it enough.
Not stealing.
Not
speeding.
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 Yeah, we're not
stealing. Yes, we know that stealing is wrong.
We're not
There's
getting
no
all-
amount of stealing.
Yeah, we're not trying to get all Torah up in here tonight.
Or are you equating speeding to stealing? Let me read that again.
Like equating speeding to stealing? That's a good question. Can we
Somebody
do that?
says, depends on what the officer thinks. What is lying? Is there a white lie? Good one.
Good one, right? See? This is some good debates right here. I want you to...
Oh,
There we go. This makes Liz even more
Ugh.
scared.
no, it just... I hate it. The lights
I mean,
are...
you need to see Liz's terrified face. Because she's so afraid.
I'm a little better. The semis are like behind us, at least
Yeah.
for the moment. So I don't feel like, you know, cat and mouse game.
Okay, so we shared Riley with you guys. Who was like... We did like...
Can't take
Oh,
that
just on me?
Yeah, I
Like,
can't
okay.
take that on me. I
So
feel like I'm
who's-
being interrogated.
Who's your guys' all-time favorite artist? It could be whatever, you know. I mean, obviously more biblical or spiritual, or like, you know, at least claiming something that's not like really raunchy or something. But where are you guys at in that? Because I can share you. Before you say that, I think this is a good opportunity to tell you. It's like I talk a lot about CDs and music a lot, but you know, sort of like Robbie Davidson's testimony. You know, like he was huge into music, and he's gonna be sharing a lot about that coming up this year. I was the guy that had a huge, like, secular Christian music or secular CD collection, and I was like, you know, I was always a believer. You know, grew up in a church and everything like that. And I always just, you know, separate it like, oh, well, I can listen to, like, things that talked about, you know, sex and drugs or swearing or, you know, just anything that was lawless, just lawless living, right? And I could listen to that stuff and go, well, it doesn't really affect me because I don't do those things. You know, I've never smoked, I never drank, never had premarital sex, had one girlfriend in my life, you know, I didn't curse, I didn't act that way. So I'm like, you know what, I can infect, this stuff isn't affecting. But you know, the one thing that he was showing me over all those years is that it is affecting you. It's affecting your very thoughts, your patterns, the things you start to like, you know, glorifying women. Well, I didn't go around doing that physically, but what was it doing in my mind mentally? What was, you know, all the bad language doing in my mind mentally? Maybe if I wasn't verbalizing it, what was I saying in my heart when somebody said something to me? Was I saying those 4-letter words in my heart, in my mind, and doing the exact things, you know, that this music was doing? And I knew, I don't know if you remember Liz, you know, I'm sure you do. Liz was, you know, not really into like lots of secular music.
Well, I was
I mean, you had a little bit of it, but you weren't really into it heavy.
very, very little. I mean, I grew up more in a bubble than Chris did. And the school that we met at, I was at my whole entire life. Literally, when my sister, who is 17 months older, was in preschool, I was in like pre-preschool. And so that whole world of fundamental Baptist, we just had our own little bubble. And we listened to our hymns and our very
Point of Grace.
Point of Grace. Yeah, those were my jam.
Yeah, you know, what was crazy was, so Liz never really had that perspective of, you know,
It's
doing
a game show.
Yeah. We got these overhead lights, right? Liz never had like this, you know, major perspective. I think you had like a TLC CD.
Oh,
You were big into TLC.
Wow.
You weren't
Let
big
me
into
just say that was probably your influence.
No. You listened to that way before me because I never really listened to TLC. I mean, your song was Waterfalls, no doubt.
You know, maybe that was when I was sneaking to watch MTV.
Liz was
probably
Liz
it.
was watching MTV, VH1, listen to all
Who
that stuff.
didn't spend their summer in the 90s watching music videos?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that was the thing to do.
Yeah. So she had all that stuff. Like she knew all the rap parts like Waterfalls.
That was the other song I knew.
Yeah. So that was Liz. I mean, what other CDs did you have? You had like some Boyz II Men stuff.
Did I?
Oh yeah, you did.
Oh,
Of
I
course
thought
you
that
did.
was
I
just
know
you.
everything that you had. You know, so I mean, not to say Boyz II Men was like really raunchy or bad, other than I'll Make Love to You song or something. Now maybe in a marriage context that's all right, but I don't think it was made in a marriage context.
That was made
I don't
for
know why I'm
teenagers.
talking about this, but we are killing.
You're just
time.
passing time.
We are passing some
Passing time with our friends.
So, but I was more into like the heavier, like like a little bit more raunchier stuff. Definitely a lot more raunchier stuff that had really explicit lyrics, and it definitely started to affect my life, no doubt. And I was starting at that point to like buy and sell. I was just buying tons of CDs, and I had amassed a huge collection. And I would take those CDs. What I really wanted one year for Seamus, because that's what I call it now, because I can't even utter the words. I'm just so hardened by that day. So I call it Seamus in our household, like when we talk about it in the past. So, that's just a joke. But that is what I said. And I remember wanting this CD burner like when I was like 19 years old, because it was like right at that cuff before they made like CD burners for your computer. They made CD recorders that you hooked up to your CD players, which I had just sold for like, it was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago for like $100, because they're still pretty valuable. And I would make mixtapes, and I would do all these things, and then eventually the CD burner got old. We got a new computer, and it had its own CD burner on her, and Napster opened up, and LimeWire, all these things, and all the world of like any song you wanted, you could get for free. And I had not, really given up this vice of, living a certain way. And we decided, as we progressed in our faith, that there was more to our faith, and we wanted to help out in the youth group, because we had just come off of really good youth group years.
When I was in the youth group.
When Liz was in the youth group, I was in it for 1 year. Liz stayed in it for like the next 2 years, and it was really impactful. And I was sort of living one way. I remember there was 1 year where it was like you went to like a youth event, and
Is that the one in Canada?
no, you went to a youth event on my birthday.
Oh, capture, Acquire the Fire.
Acquire the Fire. You went
Acquire
to
the Fire.
So you went to Acquire the Fire, which was on my birthday, Halloween. And, I was starting to get a little jealous. I remember this specifically. Like, Liz is going to go to these things, and she's going to come back more spiritual. Like, this is when I knew I was already being affected. Because I didn't want to give up the things in my life, the specific vices, or even to the point like, she's going to come back, and we're not even going to be able to kiss anymore.
You never told me that. You never told me that.
Yeah,
But you felt that
yeah,
way.
I totally did, but she didn't even remember back then. But I had told her all these things why I was like a little bit upset, because, you know, I didn't want to give up, like, you know, going to see R-rated movies, you know, because I already had a preconceived notion of what, like, growing closer to him meant. And I was already fighting those demons already, you know, like, no, he's pushing me towards the world, listening to secular music, you know, wanting to be able to go see whatever movie I wanted, if it had sex scenes, if it had this scene, you know, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. Like, I didn't want to have to be bound or tied to any of those things, or, like, you know, oh, we would, you know, that we were not unmodest. We weren't living like the world. We weren't, you know, having sex. We weren't doing these things, but, like, you know, would that mean we're not allowed to kiss or do this or whatever? And it all came to a head right at that on my birthday, which would have been like 1999, because Liz would have been a senior. And that would have been October. And, you know, this continued for a while. And it was really as we got to the year 2000, when the church that I was in, they moved from one location to buying a building. And it was like, time to get serious with your faith. It was literally almost a year later from that moment in that time when I didn't really, because Liz was super involved in youth. She was going to youth studies apart from me. Like, I wasn't part of the group anymore because I wasn't allowed to go to that stuff. So, like, she was still doing all those things.
Just because he was in college.
Yeah, I was in those older
College
years.
age.
And, you know, I couldn't do that. So she had her youth group friends, and they were like a real youth group, like wanting to study scripture and worship.
We were on fire. It was
really
such
good
a sweet time.
And for somebody like me who was like, no, I want to be the possessive boyfriend and live the life I want, and she's gonna go do those things, and I can keep my faith. We can still be, you know, in faith, but I can still, you know, do those things. But that was the Spirit, you know, telling me, no, you can't keep doing what you're doing. And that's why I wasn't necessarily the most supportive, even though I wasn't unsupportive. You know, I wasn't like telling her you couldn't do those things, but I wasn't like, I want you to do these things. You know, I was kind of discouraging. And then 1 year later, when we were in a church service together, and they kicked off the church in September, and by October, they were like, it's time for the church to start a youth group. And we had gone through youth group together, and it was a lot of fun. And we were like, you know what? Liz had come to church with me that week, and we were like, we talked about it, like, should we help out? And I remember specifically going to the meeting and being convicted so hard. Like, you can't be a leader in this youth group while you're still holding on to music in your life that is so terrible that you will bring down people just by the things that you do in your life. And mind you, I wasn't drinking, smoking, having sex. I wasn't doing those, but I was listening to things that were promoting all of that stuff. And I remember taking that into the first youth event that we had. And I remember sitting there in my Sean John outfit, because that was cool back then. You know, the Puff Daddy bad boy clothing line, because it was sophisticated, cool urban wear, which was just like this joke.
Yeah.
And I remember wearing this stuff.
2 times too big, you know.
Yeah, it was awful. And I remember wearing this, and I remember sitting there talking with the teens, and then they were talking about the music they were listening to. And as now somebody who was helping out on the first youth event, you know, we were just like helpers. We weren't leaders at this point. We were just helpers. And I remember going, I listen to the same stuff you do. What a hypocrite am I? And I remember it was not long after that, I mean, it had to be like within 1 to 2 weeks right after that, job change, everything changed in my life, and me and Liz were starting to get much more serious in like marriage at that point in time, and we began like a process of lots of working, saving up for a house payment. So we had already begun doing these things, and it was just a few weeks later, all the mixtapes that I had made, all the CDs that I had, all this whole big giant collection. I first started to like go to the CD exchange shops and just exchange them for money, and then I would get convicted about that, and I said I can't do that anymore. And I remember getting out a huge garbage bag, and mind you, I came from a school who glorified, and I said I will never be that guy that throws out all my CDs, and because they would have CD burning parties and.
Yeah, after revival.
Yeah, after revival weeks.
They would have revival 2 times a year, and when revival would happen with the church, they would also have it for the school as well. So we were having chapel service on a daily basis for a solid week, and by the end of it, they would bring out big garbage, metal cans, and people would bring whatever was a vice in their life. And throw it in the garbage, and so we had so many friends bringing.
People were bringing TVs and VCRs and DVD players. CDs
and all sorts of stuff, and it was an amazing time. No, I don't want the light.
Oh, it's not even on you.
Yeah, well, the phone battery was dying, so I had to charge it.
So that was pretty crazy. I was like, I'm never gonna be that guy that burns all my CDs. Now, I didn't burn my CDs. What I did was I had taken all of that stuff and I threw it in what really got to me, and this was really important too at this time. I was working at UPS, and I was getting really good with like making these mixtapes, and I was giving them to all these guys at work. I'm like 30 or 40 feet from my car. Liz is telling me to slow down. Okay,
I can see the speed limit too.
So I'm going through this whole thing, but I'm already at this guy who makes these mixtapes, and they're like, hey, burn me a copy. You got all this stuff. Do this for me. Do that for me. And I had just met these guys at these young guys. We were all young, and they had asked me to make some stuff for them, and I did. And I remember, like being asked to come out to their car, where they were like doing drugs, like, after work, which, obviously you'd get kicked out of working at UPS if you were doing drugs. But they had passed their drug test, but then after their drug test, they went back to doing drugs, right? And we're out there, and they're doing drugs, and they're talking about how awesome this was, and like, how like I'll pay you to make me more of this stuff. And at that moment was like, I'm done. I'm throwing all this stuff away. I'm deleting everything on the computer. I'm done. I'm like supposedly a youth leader in church, and then I'm making mixtapes for dudes to like turn them even further away from their creator. And I'm like, I'm such a hypocrite. I'm a baby believer at best, even though I've been a believer since I was like 12, around that age, 12, 13, and grew up in a Christian home. So I knew all this stuff, still a baby believer for a long, long time. Even throughout all the years of doing youth ministry, I knew the basics, but I didn't know much more than the basics, right? As much of us, growing up in the faith, and I was sucking on, as Rob Skiba always says, just sucking on milkshakes all the time. When I was just needing some meat. It was super thin milk at the best, right? I mean, pre-trib rapture, Left Behind series books, that was like our what we thought was some meat. And we're going, man, was that just some watered down, carnation milk or something, right? And so I had given all that up, and complacent because I was like, I thought Christian music was like super terrible because I had this really bad perception. I remember like hearing DC Talk in the rap years and going, this is terrible. I don't like this stuff. And I never gave it never thought ever since then. I mean, I grew up in a home, you know, where we listened to like, you know, some of the pioneers in Christian music, you know, like Keith Green, a lot of those things, which I still hold dear, you know, to me, you know, growing up hearing all that stuff, you know, it meant something. So I was able still to hold on to faith, still cling to his ways, and even read scripture, you know, time to time, and go and, you know, be around, you know, godly things. But I still always held this vice of, you know, living secular through my music and media. And so that's my, you know, that was my thing. Like, once I got out of that, a whole nother world opened up of like, you know, like first and foremost, if you're parents and you're dealing with kids that are dealing in this stuff, they need to, you know, it's like you may be like that parent who like sees all the Illuminati symbol, Skillet's got this on there, or this band, you know, does this, or you know what? A lot of it's milk. A lot of its theology is not very deep. But you know, some of that stuff, you know, like, you know, what brought me out of that was just stuff that like you could be a Christian and like be cool, like God's cool, like, you know, things of the Bible are cool, and that's what it took from somebody like me. And I know that's a story for so many of, you know what, maybe this isn't the stuff that's going to lead you down the path of walking in Torah or coming to a deeper relationship, but it is that start of that relationship and just breaking down vices in your life, you know, especially bad media, bad things you're clinging on to, and changing your perception. It's really hard to like jump into sinful things when you're listening to even, you know, milky Christian music, right? I mean, things that, you know, maybe not super theological deep, maybe some that maybe are misled, you know, I mean, in different areas, different theologies, maybe they're not perfect, whatever that case may be.
But it's positive music.
It's positive reinforcement, especially in a young person's life. So, you know, I always have encouraged music to be part of a young believer's walk because they need that. They need to, you know, have, you know, a common denominator between their friends, you know, and finding other friends who listen to similar music. Because if they get involved with other friends, what keeps them together? The video games they listen to, the movies they watch, the TV shows, and the music they listen to. Those are the things that click these kids together. But when they find something, you know, I've recently found a lot of people who, you know, it's like they listen to Lecrae. It's like, oh, Lecrae's this Illuminati shill. But it's like now, it's like, okay, whatever. We can say all those things. We can call it out. Look, I know the ins and outs of the Christian music industry because it's been like something that's been a passion ever since 2000. And now I know everything like going back into the 1970s. And so I know the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, all the backstories behind all this stuff. So I get it. I know all that stuff. Like, I'm sure people can teach me something, but I listened to and have, you know, fallen in love with so many different stuff. But there was a group that, you know, that when I first started listening to, when I found this band, you know, it like threw me over the top. That was like, this was like super hip, cool, like, wow, this is like solid music. It wasn't, and it was theologically in that, like, nothing to it. Like there was nothing like theological that you could grasp from any of the music. And it was like, that's what I needed to break down these guards, because I was coming from this to that, And like, you know what? Worship music wasn't cutting it. You know, praising my Savior all the day long wasn't cutting it for me. That's what grew. I went from, you know, like I needed like super milk, you know, like really milk stuff to then like really thick, like, you know, I went from skim milk to 2%, you know, to 1% to 2% to this really thick vitamin D, terrible, you know, thick milk, and then ultimately got to some like
Cashew milk.
no Hartzell milk that was like thick like a milkshake, and then
Raw milk.
and then we were able to, you know, get some raw milk, and then you know what? Then we've transitioned completely over to some plant-based milk. But you know, then I had some plant, like some really thick plant meat on the table, and you know, now I can appreciate every aspect of worship music, every aspect of all these things, because now I have that full understanding. So, you know, if you're a parent out there and you're seeing your kids, you know, encourage them even in those areas, because it does make positive influences and changes. You know, whether it's, you know, rock, alternative, you know, I didn't get big into like crazy metal stuff, but you know, if that's what they may need to start to say, you know what, let's input something positive and replace those strongholds in their life. You know, I remember going to the library, I don't know if you remember this, Liz, and I would take all these library things out, and I still have my CD burner, so I would listen to these CDs, and I'd take the best songs of these things. And during the youth group years, I was creating youth group mixtapes that we would play at the events, that I would listen to in the car, and I would always be super well balanced, and I always knew one thing that I was called to do was to be diverse. And you know what, a lot of people, you know, aren't called to being diverse. I was called to be super diverse. When it came to the music, you know, it was like every genre was on the table. You know what, maybe what was my strong point genre, you know, that was great, but I needed to know all these other things. And so it started from a music standpoint. And so, you know, if we look at Take on the World today, you know, everybody always comments on, you know, wow, it's so diverse. Everybody looks different. Everybody acts different. They got different things to teach on, but we're all part of this same body. You know, that was instilled in me by him to just be diverse, be all things to all people. So when, you know, and I know Robbie talks about this, so when you get somebody in, when he would get somebody in his car and he'd be witnessing to him through music, it's like, oh man, you listen, hey man, you know, I'm trying to do a really bad Canadian accent, it didn't work. But hey, well that's not even, that's like almost Southern. But he would get these people in there, and it's like, hey, you listen to hip hop, here you go, I'm gonna pop this hip hop, and he's like, this is pretty good, right? It's Christian. I'm gonna get you this CD, check it out. Oh, you're into electronic music? Here you go, check this out. Oh, you like pop? Oh, here, check this out. You like screamo music? Robbie had a little bit of it, just to give it to these people to be a witnessing tool. And so, you know, starting with that really basic foundation, you know, that's where I've led with Take on the World, is just being diverse and allowing that body to, you know, just be fed wherever they're at. So, you know, ironically, the band that did it for me, if you go back listening to their music, it was when I found it, you know, and I was already starting to get exposed to a lot of like music. You know, I started discovering DC Talk again and go, hey, this isn't super cheesy. You know, this is pretty good. You know, Newsboys, you know, Audio Adrenaline. You know, I was finding, you know, all these bands then. You know, some of the earlier stuff. You know, discovering, you know, like Petra and all these bands, right? So I was discovering all this stuff through LimeWire and just searching Christian rock and Christian rap and, you know, all these different artists and bands. And I had, you know, so coming from more of the hip hop perspective background. So that's why obviously you see a Take on the World, you know, like, you know, why we like, you know, like Dirt's there, and a few. because that does stem from my past a little bit. But there was this one band, and it was this very eclectic group from Los Angeles. And when I had stumbled upon them, I was loving, and I was already in the spot where, I was finding really cool bands. Like I thought, like, Insiders, Five Iron Frenzy, All Star Unite. I was finding all these bands, and I wasn't listening to like their contemporary stuff very much. I had known like all like the punk artists. I was finding groups like Reliant K, and I was finding all this stuff, and I was like falling in love with all this stuff. But there was nothing that really bridged, my past and what the genre I listened to most, really over till I found this group. Even though I was finding like artists like T-Bone and Freedom of Soul and some of these old school bands, even Grits I was discovering. They were really cool. But once I had discovered this band, they were called LA Symphony, and like they're not theologically sound, and even now today, half of the guys in there, they don't even even walk in faith, and some of the guys obviously do, and they're pretty awesome. But that one was like that, it had completed that bridge for me, and then out of that band stemmed an artist called Pigeon John. And man, I pray for Pigeon John quite often, and just praying that he comes back to faith, and his music at the time, like Liz knows, like I think I had played John out so hard, like it was crazy. Like I had gone from listening to all this stuff, and Liz is like, Pigeon John again? Are you kidding me? And it was just every single thing that I would listen to in the car ride. And so LA Symphony, Pigeon John, that was like my really aha, I've made it, like, in full acceptance. And then like from there, like now I listen to stuff from the 80s, and listen to all the old worship stuff, and I got collections of like even some like things you wouldn't think I would listen to, or have in my collection.
So JC has a good comment.
Yeah.
Ever heard about witchcraft being used by major record producers to curse the music before it's released?
No.
There's a video called "Call for an Uprising" about it.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff. Yeah, you know what? I mean, when you look,
all the more reason to listen to Christian artists, know their backstory.
Let's pause there for a second. So I shared the good parts. Okay, so there's bad parts too, right? So, okay, Satan, Hasatan, in the scriptures, he's in charge of worship, right? So, there's a musical element to Hasatan, and we know that's where he speaks volumes to. The Christian music industry has been infiltrated. I mean, you go back to the John Todd, tapes of the 1960s, who was murdered off in jail, with all this Illuminati stuff. And, he was talking about how the Christian music industry back then, which was just pumping out primarily, gospel and hymns and all sorts of stuff, being led through the deep charismatic movement, because we're not talking Pentecostal, we're talking like heavy charismatic, where it brought in some evil elements to it. And, anybody gifts of the Spirit, I'm not coming after you, I'm just saying there was a movement within that realm that brought some really deep elements, and which infected even the Christian music industry. I talked about it. 64 less. Okay, I talked about it with in the show with Doug. Michael W. Smith, for crying out loud, on the back of his album, he has backwards writing that you only find when you trace it back to the roots of Aleister Crowley. You look at some of the satanic imagery on the gloves, on some of these artists or their clothing, like Amy Grant back then. It's all prevalent. I mean, you look at one eye symbolism. You look at, you know, yes, I know. I mean, you look at an artist like Toby Mac, where it's like, you know, Toby is, you know, he's a legend in the Christian music industry, and he's pumped out some amazing music, and he's done so much good. I mean, I kind of equate him to like a Billy Graham type figure, where, you know, there's so much good, and there's so much stuff where you scratch your head, and you're just left with this, man, I really don't know. And you know, I mean, obviously you can go back to every one of Toby's albums. I mean, look, and there's a song by Toby Mac. It's called "Ill Am I," and I will set the record straight on this, because I was listening to a track well before "Ill Am I" had ever been created. So if you ever heard the song "Ill Am I," it goes "Ill am I, Ill am I, Ill am I, and you, Illuminati coming through," right? Okay, so it's like his like big Illuminati song, and boom, it's done, it's over. That song is actually by an underground, eclectic, hip-hop, rock group, electronic, whatever, like garage. I don't even know how to explain the style of it. They were called Soul Junk. And Soul Junk, which was pretty much a one-man guy, I mean, his music's super dope and crazy. I love Soul Junk. But he put that whole thing out, right? And he was calling out Illuminati stuff way back then, and it's got a really good flair and a beat to it. So Toby just covered the whole song. The only thing that Toby did differently was change the name of Glenn Galaxy, who's in the song, who wrote that track. He had changed it to Toby in there, and that's really all that he changed. Like, you know, maybe some harmonies or some different things, and changed up the beat a little bit. But that's all he did. So I mean, everybody's like points to that one song in history and going, you know, it's actually an anti-Illuminati song. So if he is an Illuminati, and he is, you know, look, I mean, you've got albums with him doing the bear claw on the front cover of, I believe it's his remix album, where he's got the claw, the bear claw pose, and he's obviously got the one eye symbolism on it. I mean, look, I know all that stuff. I've studied it all. I've seen it all. You know, yes, there is a satanic element that is underlining throughout this whole entire realm. I mean, there are record labels where half of the artists aren't Christian, and that is the absolute truth. I know who they are. I've been friends with those guys. I've met those people. I've met the real people in the industry. I've met the fake people in the industry. You know, it's like, what a really cool story is, you know, I brought in Toby Mac's DJ for a concert once, and it was DJ Mash, and you know, we got to know each other, and you know, I have a cell phone number. It's not like we talk or anything, but you know, he's a legit dude. I mean, he's like not running in these circles. He's Toby's DJ. I've also, you know, gotten to like meet like probably 15 times one of the artists that was in Toby's band, which was Sean Locke, which is I have his autograph here, even though he's just like not, you know, it's not even anything. It's just my fun little bottle, but he's like a super legit dude too, and he's not running in those circles. And you know what? You know, you talk to those guys about that stuff, they don't know any of that stuff. You know, we even had a conversation with Brian Haley, who is Toby Mac's drummer still to this day, and he actually responded back to us. He came out with he had a group, I forget the name of the group that he came out with, and This was right when me and Liz were like deep into Illuminati stuff, and we were studying everything. We were calling everybody out, and we had messaged him because he actually created a band with people that live in Ohio, like literally 25 minutes up the street from us, and he had created a band. I forget the name of this group, but it was all triangle symbolism, and we were just like, we just had blown it up. It started in his, like, on his news feed and his post. Then it went to a private message, and he had gotten back to us. So we were once those people who would just like, we're calling this out, we're doing this, you know. And he lovingly got back to us and said, you know what, hey, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. We had just created all this art. We had done this. There's 3 of us in a band. So everything centered around us in our photo shoot, you know, with you know, which ended up being triangle, 3 people, you know, in this thing. And, you know, I do truly believe he was being absolutely genuine, that he absolutely knew nothing. And half of the time, most of the industry people, just like in the case of the big Christian band POD, you know, who went mainstream and secular, on their album called Southtown, before they released Satellite, which became their biggest album to date, you know, which was released right after, I believe, 9/11. And the Southtown album, which was their first album that they put on Atlantic Records after they had just got done with Tooth and Nail Records, and they were previously with Rescue Records, which was the same label that Dirt was on, Rescue Records, and Dirt's on both the Tooth and Nail release and the Rescue Records release. So that's your FYI trivia question of the day. He's on the song Breathe Babylon, which appears on both of those. So
this guy knows too much.
So yeah. So anyways, there's
Woohoo! Indiana.
We are
How are we
in
in
Indiana. So
because we're right on the tip area.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here's the other thing. Southtown album is full of so many occult symbols. Right on the front cover, I mean, you've got basically like a new age symbolism. You've got all these occultic symbols. They've got the pagan trinity as the symbol as POD. And look, you know, Doug knew these guys extremely well. They had some ties to Rastafarian, you know, and that's why in all their music they use the word, like, they use Jah, they use all that kind of stuff, all that lingo, because they were part of all that Rastafarian culture, all the while claiming Christ. And so when they absolutely had no dealings in creating the Southtown, you know, graphics. So when they had when it dropped, you know, it was all done by a graphic designer who put the whole thing together, used all these elements, and that's what you find 9 times out of 10 in the industry. It's not even done by the artists themselves. So, you know, so when we look at the graphics, the imagery, but you're absolutely right. I'm taking a long way to get there. You know, creating in different tones and different keys, you know, different realms. I mean, when you start to see secular labels start to buy up Christian bands or start to sign Christian bands, I mean, you know, you start to see definitely a change. You start to see, you know, this whole thing. And that was my whole point about Kanye West, is look, Kanye West can come out with an album and say Jesus is king, right? He may be a complete, total fraud. I don't know. I mean, he says things that make you say, huh? And then the next minute you're like, yeah, he's a fraud. So I really don't even know. So I'm not even going to judge him. I'm not even going to say anything. You can judge me all you want for saying I don't know and not be the guy that I used to be, because I've already gone down that path. I've already done all that stuff. I was already that guy, and I'm not going to be that guy anymore. But my prayer is that people in the industry that are true believers, true Christian label owners, who do proclaim Christ, who do want to, as their sole focus is to spread him to the world, is that they actually become motivated to not be afraid to proclaim his name again. And that's where we've gotten so far away. I mean, we have to turn to Hillsong to get worship music, and every, if you look at Hillsong, they pump out catchy worship songs. Some of their biggest hits, like Oceans, we could look to and say, that's a beautiful song. But we gotta, somehow dismiss all this terrible theology. We gotta dismiss all these things, and all this symbolism. If you look at Hillsong, elevation. Why can I speak? Elevation worship. All these new worship bands that are coming out, it's like nothing but triangle symbology. It's all these things, and it's all hidden behind this. Hillsong United, Young and Free. They make killer music. My goodness. If you're into EDM style like music, it's like they pump out like great sounding stuff. Milk, right? It's milk, milk worship stuff. It's good sounding, right? But it's like that's what we have. It's like that's what we get. It's like, and then you trace it right back. Where is this all being pumped out of? That they, their head church believes in evolution. They believe in, the merger of all these things. They have terrible, their CMIS, stuff is all full of just garbage, right? It's full of dancing Santas. It's full of, it's full of, provocative dressed women, doing dances on stage. It's like, look,
at their concert?
Their whole big pageants, they do, is just ridiculous. Look, if you're out there and you're still holding on to CMIS, the only thing you can cling and hold on to is the Advent. It's the only thing that's biblical in there, but you got the timing wrong. You got everything wrong about it. And for all of us that are fighting, it's like, we can't fight the Advent aspect of the Gospels, because it is absolutely Scripture, right? We just got to put it in its right perspective and go, you know what? It's not been something and then we have to always, everybody's got to remember, this isn't what we've been asked to worship and remember, right? That's why everybody may make fun of me or say something, but the best song, that was created, that is a so-called Christmas song, is Joy to the World. And that was written by Isaac Watts. And Isaac Watts wrote that song, and he had nothing to do with the Advent in mind. He had nothing to do with Christmas in mind. That is a 100% Christ is coming back song. And it's amazing. I taught that when we did our little trumpets gathering. And, I think every trumpet's everything. It's like that guy's spirit, when he wrote that song, was led by the Spirit to write a song to honor and worship the coming of our King, which is all about the Feast of Trumpets, right? And it's like, it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. What's Satan going to do? He's going to flip it, turn it into an Advent thing and a Christmas thing, and he's going to make you sing it in a time and not even tell you that this is not about his first coming. This is about his second coming, which is our blessed hope, which is all about the fall feast, right? All of these things right there. So yeah, you know what? Music has been manipulated. It's been destroyed. And you know what? We can't, it was so important in my journey to get, from point A to point B. If you go back and listen to LA Symphony, I'm going to play it. I'll play some, because I got some LA Symphony. I got the unreleased album.
How long do you want to go here? We're already well over an hour.
Yeah, we're getting
going
close.
to an hour and a half.
Yeah. If people are watching, wow, I'm just gonna, if people are like listening to my rant, I'm just gonna keep talking.
Well,
Because
remember, we want them to also watch Chad, Ian, and Eve.
yeah, it's coming up. I'm gonna make sure that it's only 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna end soon. Trust me, I'm gonna end soon. So I'm gonna play that. So if you're out there and you're a parent, or if you're whatever, it's like, and wherever your kids are at, teach them the truth, right? You know, teach them the truth about these things, you know, and find time. But you know what? Find it in their journey. So yeah, if you know, if you start to see, you know, there's, you know, certain symbology and certain things, teach them about those things. Does that necessarily make everything that artist is doing evil? Personally, I don't think so, because knowing a lot of these artists, getting to meet them, knowing people who know them. I mean, talking to guys like George Moss, who knows these guys, half of them that are out there, first-hand experience, and getting to spend time with them. It's like they don't know what they're doing in these areas. You know, so maybe if they have some, you know, some bad teaching, obviously we know everybody has some bad teaching. And I'll tell you this, that's the point of unleavened bread. We all have bad teaching in our lives, and it's not just removing sin from our lives, it's bad doctrine. He wants removed from your life. And you're not going to remove all your bad doctrine in your first year alone. It's going to take your lifetime to do that. And that's that molding process that he's got going on. And I really encourage you guys each year to, like, not just like think about, you know, and if all you're doing for unleavened bread is purging your kitchen, and you're not getting to your prayer closet and prayerfully trying to eliminate sin from your life, and then reevaluating your doctrines each and every year, you know, you're missing the point of unleavened bread, because, you know, bad doctrine keeps us from his truth, right? If you're stuck and you know, if you're like, hey, I got this Torah stuff down, I understand this, but you don't get and understand, you know, eschatology, and you don't know how this fits into there, or you've never studied out creation, his full creation model, you know what? This is your, you know, that's your chance and your time to say, okay, I'm going to devote some time to studying your word. You know, I talk to so many people, and everybody's like, that's not on my radar. That's not my thing. You know what? And he may never call you to, like, have perfect theology, because you're not going to have perfect theology. And if you think you do, and a lot of you think you do, not in the chat room, some of the people who are disliking this video, you have just as bad a theology as you think I have, and I probably have a lot of really bad theology too, and I can guarantee you I do. It's time for us to be humble, and it's time for us to, you know, use his Moedim and his times to change that, and then what that will do is it's going to exemplify the fruits of the Spirit and how we treat everybody else, because it's okay if we're not on the same page as Jimmy down the street, and Johnny on Facebook, and Susan on Facebook. And it's okay if they're in a totally different place and they're putting up Christmas trees and they're saying Jesus and not Yeshua, or they're not saying Yahushua and they're still saying Yeshua. I mean, come on, guys. Fruits of the Spirit is what we will, you know, these things are what we're going to be known for, of how we treat one another. And the only way we'll properly treat one another is based on these fruits of the Spirit. And it's like, use all of these Moedim to, you know, not only strengthen our relationship, but strengthen our walk in how we deal with and deal with the greatest of these two commandments, which is love him and love one another. And you know what? We can expose truths, we can say all these things, and that's why I'm saying, I used to be that guy, you know, like when it would come to exposing every Illuminati lie, every symbology, every this. You know what? I've moved past a lot of that while still recognizing it all, still knowing, hey, there is very much things behind all of these things, but starting to put them in their perspective and watching people change, watching people walk out of these things. So, you know, if you're looking for that video of like, why am I not hard on this, or why am I not throwing Toby under a bus, or doing this, or saying that, because I was already there, I've already done that, and I've seen, you know, family members come closer to his walk. I've seen very close family members who have used music in their lives of expelling one aspect of music and adopting this music. And an artist like Toby Mac was so vital for them to just expel things that weren't good for them, and watching, young boys, start to grow up in this and exemplify fruits of the Spirit that you see that are in their songs, and like things like speaking life into other people's life instead of speaking evil or death, and we can go, well, that guy's an Illuminati shill. Doesn't change the fact of what we're doing with it. God can use, he used Cyrus the Great, right? He used Cyrus the Great, and we know this scripturally that Yahweh used Cyrus in the scripture to usher in and bring glory, his glory, right? So to say that he can't use somebody who has bad theology or might be mistakenly connected to, might be mistakenly attracted to Masonry, that may absolutely be the case. Because they may just not even know, and or God's working on him, and he's going to change him and remove him from some things. I mean, I've known Masons who have come out of Masonry who had no clue of all the occult connections. They didn't know any of these things. They thought Hiram Abiff was the name of God, of the true living God, and then they realized, no, he is a satanic entity, and we've got to abolish from that stuff. They didn't have a clue. These were some of the people getting deeper indoctrinated into things, and then they realized. Or we have these really low-level people, and these artists that are getting indoctrinated, and there are plenty of people. I mean, you look at Lecrae, who went from being, Jesus thumping music to then, Illuminati symbology in his music, to being #1 chart topper on there, who then now, doesn't really talk about God in his music as much as he used to. So, hey, I mean, those are the progressions, and that's why I pray that, what Kanye is doing will actually put a spark under us, Christian artists, Christian theologians and pastors and, Torah keepers, all of us who know deeper revelation truths and actually have him living in us, to actually go out there and be motivated to reach the world for him and not let Kanye do our work. If we're going to sit and let back Kanye do our work, the things that we should be doing, and he's a false prophet, like the Illuminati, call out people will say, if he is that false prophet, why are we letting him do our work? We don't need to go warn people about him. We need to go reach people for Christ and let that be our motivation. So I'm going to keep harping that, because I think it's the truth. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got really bad doctrines and theology. And trust me, I know all that stuff. So I'm going to leave you guys on some meat, and I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to let you listen to the artist that just got me going. It's actually cool to be a Christian, and it really started to get much deeper for there. So if you guys don't know, this is the LA Symphony.
And when I get a girl, I won't take it to the hill or Rills. And when I get a car, I'm gonna drive it and floss it. And if I have to drive it, and when I make some money, I'ma drive it. And when I see the subway, I'll ride it. And when I'm jumping cliffs, I hang gliding. You excited? Well, alright, alright.
If you're bumping this in the kitchen, just cook. If you're watching us do it live, listen and look. If you're boogie into the track, then just do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. If you're bumping this in the top, then just wave. If you're bumping this while in traffic, just wave. If you're trying to finish
gifts. You think differently and just don't like it. You might get left just like the hand that I write with. Word.
Until tomorrow, we'll see you guys. Disputed Lands, 9 o'clock.
This has been.
That's like a Saturday Night Live skit. So,
See you
yeah,
guys.
deep thoughts. Yeah, right. I'm showing my age there.